What the Rudge is up, fam? If you're new here, I'm Terry Ann.
I'm Mike.
This is my fiance. We are getting married and you are watching our wedding update video. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. We post vlogs and sit down videos every Wednesday and Sunday. So this is probably the third or fourth video in our wedding series on our channel. We've shown you guys us venue shopping and getting my wedding dress.
Right, that's cool.
And I don't really know what else. Oh, my bridesmaids proposal boxes.
Oh, wow, that's right. I forgot about that. Wow.
Yeah,
Yep.
so we've shared a little bit about the wedding. We haven't had like a crazy update in a while because as you guys know, we've been in the middle of a pandemic. Planning things for a wedding has been hard.
We honestly haven't done anything else. We did the big things, so like we didn't want to like do a tour of us picking a caterer. We just picked the one that was with our venue, and we did, it was easy decisions. So this is the first time we have a real good update.
And I mean, all those other things that we did in terms of like getting the caterer, getting the videographer, getting the photographer, those were all done during the pandemic, and everything was virtual and over the phone. So there wasn't really anything to show you guys, honestly.
That was early pandemic too.
It was really early pandemic, and we did get a lot of the big things done super early. So I guess the first update is that we have most of our huge vendors, most if not all. We have our venue.
I would say we have our huge ones done.
Yeah, right? We have our venue, we have our caterer, we have our DJ, videographer, photographer, and we got our florist like 2 or 3 months ago. Yeah, I have a hair and makeup artist as well. Mike has his tuxedo. My bridesmaids are beginning to get their bridesmaid dresses. So the wedding is moving along. One question that I do get is, when are we getting married? And we are getting married July of this year, which is so crazy to say that it's this year. And our wedding was not, and so far has not been, fingers crossed, impacted by COVID. So we always plan to get married in 2021 because we didn't start planning our wedding until January 2020. And I guess the next big update that we have is the invitations. So we sent out save the dates and everything, which I kind of talked about in a vlog on this channel, but we are working on invitations. I think we got kind of shook when the new year started. And we were like, holy crap, it's the new year. Away, exactly. Yeah, so
soon.
It's so soon. And so we yesterday sat down and finalized the design for our invitations. I think we're gonna be using Minted, and we're just gonna go get a like a mock-up of what the invitations are gonna look like. Right,
because we changed it from like the regular templates. We made a few alterations and stuff like that.
Yeah, we customized it a little bit.
Right, but not crazy. We didn't pay extra for. Oh, we paid extra just to add a second color to it.
Yeah, like I think in total we probably added like $60 worth of changes, like customizations.
Yeah,
so
not bad. We
kind of stuck to the template for the most part. And then for the invitations, I think I'm gonna do like a couple like DIY things, just to zhuzh it up a little bit. And yeah, I think that's it in terms of the invitations. But
just laughing, you've been saying zhuzh it up a lot lately.
Right? I just heard it. I heard someone start saying it on YouTube.
Yeah.
She alternated between zhuzh it up and church it up.
I like church. I like church it up better. Zhuzh it up, I'm not a fan of.
Really?
Yeah.
I kind of like zhuzh.
Yeah, I know you do, because you say it every day. In fact, yesterday when we were doing the invitations, you said, just to zhuzh it up. You said it, I want to say 5 times. Between, like, we had a car ride, we went out somewhere, and the car ride, she was like, I can't believe we did that. We really zhuzhed it up. I was like, and so, just hearing it again today, I was like, I have to put a stop to this. You can only hear zhuzh.
I love zhuzh.
I can only hear it so many times in 24 hours. So you can still use it. Don't stop.
The next big thing. I think it's the biggest thing to happen to our wedding, honestly. Yeah. And you guys kind of know about it because I did talk about it briefly.
Right.
But we got a freaking wedding planner, you guys. Like, we got a whole wedding planner.
And it's the best thing that's ever happened to either of us.
Honestly. So I know that sounds like extra as hell.
It is.
And that's because it is, yeah.
For us.
For us, yeah, for sure. A wedding planner is pricey, you know?
Very.
It's very pricey.
I always thought before the wedding process was like, the people who get wedding planners, oh, what a what a perk that is, or what like an extravagance it is. And now that we have one, we'll talk about it more in the video, but now that we have one, I'm like, oh, that's not that, I wouldn't say necessary, like you have to, but I would say it made our lives immediately better. It was, we were high-fiving after it happened. We couldn't believe it.
We were so happy.
It was so awesome, and like, it immediately takes some stress away, which is worth, I mean, I don't know how much people value their stress and whatever. To us, it's worth thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
So it makes sense, but you would think it's an extravagance, and it totally is like a little bit over what like you have to do. But then when you do it, it like you're immediately rewarded with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. When we got engaged, you know, we have Instagram. Our engagement photos got really shared like a ton.
Yeah.
Like on a bunch of big blogs, like on The Knot, on Wedding Wire. Our engagement photos were all over the place. And I was getting a lot of inquiries from a lot of people to do wedding planning, day of coordination. People want to be a photographer. People want to be our videographers. We had people just coming out of the woodwork asking to do things for our wedding. And honestly, like we had a budget. And we still have a budget, and a wedding planner just didn't fit into that budget, because if we're gonna spend money, we wanted to spend it on the wedding.
Right.
And I think spending the money on a wedding planner is spending money on your wedding. Like now that we have a wedding planner and I see the value that it brings, I would say that you are putting money into your wedding, because they kind of just do it better than you could ever do it. It makes sense. So what I will say, so let's start by saying we got a wedding planner.
Yep.
And full disclosure, we are not paying for this wedding planner, and that is why we have a wedding planner, because again, it is not in our budget.
Yep.
So our wedding planner's name is Angeline, and she runs a wedding planning service called A Perfect Soiree. And she reached out to me to plan our wedding in exchange for, you know, talking about our experience. And so obviously the wedding has not happened yet, but we've just started working with her. We had our first meeting with her a couple of weeks ago, and it's been a little bit of a lag in between our next meeting since the holidays, obviously. And I can say from my first meeting with Angeline, I loved her. She is such a sweetheart.
So nice.
She's so
I met her a
nice.
different time.
Yeah.
And she was awesome.
Yeah, and so the first meeting I had with her, she was super sweet, she was so kind, she was so thorough. She went through all of the services that she has to offer. I was very surprised because I didn't know all the things that a wedding planner could do that she talked about doing as a wedding planner. So she plans the wedding, obviously, and that means like doing the research for certain things. Like for instance, we want very specific photo booths set up, and I want a very specific backdrop. I got immediately overwhelmed with like, you know, sourcing those, and so she sources that information and she brings you all the different quotes and tells you that kinds of stuff. And she also helps you plan and book things for your honeymoon, which I didn't know that wedding planners did. She also helps plan and organize and work with your bride, your maid of honor, and you know, your best man for your bachelorette and your bachelor party, which is another thing that I didn't know that wedding planners did. And
you missed out on the bridal shower.
Oh yeah, and she also helps with the bridal shower. So that
all things I thought were ancillary to the wedding process.
Exactly.
But she goes, oh no, that's part of it. So oh my god, I mean, I guess you're right.
And that's the biggest package. So I think the most important thing to note is that a wedding planner can be expensive, but it can actually be reasonable if you pick and choose the services. She has an a la carte service, so you can kind of pick and choose what you need for her to do and have it fit within your budget. Obviously, what we're doing with her is more of a full wedding picture.
Right.
Especially since she wasn't here with us from the start. So she would have, if we had her when we were venue shopping, she would have come venue shopping with us
to ask the questions
and exactly to know what kind of things to call out the things that we wouldn't have known to ask. And then I think the next important thing is And I think this is super important because she asked me a really great question that I loved so much, and I immediately knew I wanted to work with her. In our first meeting, she's like, what don't you want to happen on your wedding day? And I was just like, and I didn't realize that it was something that I didn't want to happen on my wedding day, but it had been something that when she said it, I realized immediately the one thing that I had been stressing about the entire time planning was that on my wedding day, I didn't want anyone asking me any questions.
Yeah.
I really don't. I don't want to be sitting in my makeup.
What you were gonna say before you said it. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't want to be sitting in my makeup chair and then like my sister coming over to me like, oh, they don't know where they're going, or oh, no one knows where the florist is, or like, oh, you know, like I didn't want to have to deal with the noise on my wedding day. And I think
you also didn't want to push that off onto like Anita or Lisa or anything else, because it's like that's a full-time job to worry about stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's another thing. Like I would have felt bad saying to my sister, you handle it, or saying to Anita, you handle it, because like that's stressful. It's really stressful. And even though they are my maid of honor and my matron of honor, I want them to enjoy the wedding day with me. Like they're the most special people in my life. That's why they have that title. No, not you. Anita and Lisa. Anyways, so...
You happy, Lisa? You don't even watch this video.
No, she doesn't. Anyways, so she really called that out, and she also provides day of coordination where she will be on site on the day of the wedding with walkie-talkies, with a full schedule breakdown of all the vendors and where they need to be and when they need to be there, which I think is like the most amazing thing ever, so that I already have the peace of mind knowing that on my wedding day, I'm not gonna be overwhelmed with all kinds of crazy things happening. So I'm very excited about that.
So like Terry was just saying, we started planning the wedding. We've been planning it for basically a year now. And when we met with Angie for the first time, we went through this whole process that she has. She has a website that she coordinates us with, which is fantastic, easy to use. And when she entered everything that we had done, in 1 year, she looked at it and she said, you guys are in pretty good shape. And we looked at the percentage, we had done 13% of the planning. 13. If you had asked us before, we would have said probably 65.
I thought at least 50% done.
We were like blown away with the things that we hadn't covered yet. And before we met with her, I would have said we were doing a good job. Those big things are great, but you have a million other tasks to complete.
Yeah, and it's so true. I mean, and to also take into consideration the way that she goes through, nothing is complete until you are done paying for it. And so all of the things that we had done,
we only paid a portion.
We only paid like the deposits and everything. And so like when you're planning a wedding, you kind of understand that like you don't pay the full balance of most of the things. You put your deposit down until it's like closer to the date of the wedding. Like for instance, we booked our wedding venue in January of last year, and we did the deposit, and we just got an email from them. The remainder.
We're paying it off like tomorrow.
We're paying it off basically tomorrow on Monday. Yeah, it comes through tomorrow. So like that is another part of it. But in addition to that, she did highlight a bunch of things that we had not done or thought about. And then once we signed our contract with her, we had our first meeting together with her, and she walked us through the website. And Mike, do you want to talk about the website?
Yeah, so when we had our meeting together, I will say before we could even meet with Angie, we had to give her all of our contracts and stuff that we'd already signed, which is something you wouldn't normally have to do for a wedding planner, because they'd have been involved in the whole process from the start. But because we were in a unique situation, we sent her everything. And so what I'm getting at is she was populating things into the website as we sent them to her. So when we first got on a meeting with her, she's so great, professional, and she's breaking down stuff for us in the email that we had talked about or briefly mentioned in emails, correspondence between the two of us. And we're thinking like, oh, this is pretty impressive. And she goes, okay, I just sent you a link to the website, so can you go into that? And we're like, already impressed regardless of her attention to detail. We click on the website. This website has a dashboard for our wedding that summarizes where the budget's at. It summarizes where we at on our tasks, what we have left, what's due in this particular time frame, 6 to 9 months, what's due in 4 to 6 months, what's due, and it's broken down to such a level of detail that you can only say is impressive.
Yeah, and
It's
it was
good.
really cool because she did things like
I hope
pull out the key terms from our contracts and
Yes.
stored them on the site.
Good job,
So
forgot
like,
about that. Yes,
yeah,
so
like
cool.
if you wanted specific information, it was just like, how many people can I have here, or how much do I owe? You know, like you could go and just pull out those major terms. And another really cool thing is that there was a calendar which included all of the due dates for our payments for our specific vendors, and we get notified, so you never miss a payment for any of that's due for any of your vendors.
Not that any vendor doesn't ever email you a week before.
Oh yeah, they're gonna be like, "Where's my money?"
But it is nice to have it in the calendar. It is a pain in the butt to do that. To read your contract line by line. I mean, Terry read them all line by line when we signed them because she's a contracts lawyer, which I'm sure not everyone has the benefit of marrying someone who's a contracts lawyer. I do, I was lucky, but then when it came time to like reading it and actually figuring out operationalizing the contract, it is not fun, and it is incredibly precise on a lot of the contracts.
This is why I cry every day at work.
It is very specific.
Another thing that I find super valuable is that she's taking over all of the interactions with the vendors.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So yeah. So she's coordinating all of that. So she has the names, phone numbers, and emails of every single one of our vendors. And she will be talking to them directly on our behalf, and including our venue, and coordinating with them and ensuring that they are working with each other and ensuring that everything runs like smoothly.
And the other cool thing that they have is that they have all of the information pieced together to create a schedule for the day of your wedding. And then you can print it out by vendor, so you can just, so if like the florist wants to know what they're doing that day, you just hand them the sheet and say, here's all your things, and it breaks out how they fit into the whole day. And you can also hand them the one that says, this is a minute by minute for the whole, everything combined. So it's every vendor at once, plus one specific vendor if you just want it like that.
And so to be like totally clear, every vendor will have their own day of timeline, and she will be handing it out to them as they arrive to the venue to set up for the wedding. Right. And not only will the vendors have their own minute-by-minute timeline, we will get our own minute-by-minute timeline. My maid of honor will have one to ensure that like we get out of the hotel and get to the venue on time, and his best man will also have access to this minute-by-minute timeline, and Angie will have like this master timeline that shows where everyone is supposed to be at every specific time, and she provides 1 or 2 more people with her on the day of the wedding to help coordinate. So she might be with me on the wedding day, or she might be on site and one of her assistants will be with me, and she'll be on site coordinating the caterer, the florists, our string quartet, because we have a string quartet. It's my dream. It's like I wanted to get married and I wanted a string quartet. If I could only have those 2 things, that would have been it. I'm so happy. Anyways, but that is what she provides. So I know this was kind of detailed and kind of a little bit all over the place, but I just want to say that we are so super excited to be working with Angie and A Perfect Soiree, and she's already made our life so much easier, and like so much like there's just a ton less stress, you guys.
Way less.
Because at this point in the wedding, booking all the big venues, it's really fun, and it's just a lot easier. But getting into the finer details of things, and then actually having all those separate pieces come together and work together as one, that's a totally different ballgame.
You need to be the right brain type for that stuff.
Yeah, and she is on top of it, and she is killing it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we are really excited. As we go through this process with her, we're gonna be documenting more of that stuff, especially now that we are really kicking into high gear for this wedding. Yeah, guys, we just say thank you so much for watching. Go ahead, hit the thumbs up button and the subscribe button if you want to see more of these, and we will see you guys in the next video. Bye.